Hi guys, Artie here, and today I'll be covering Cartoon Network's actual worst era, Dimensional. This also includes its concurrent eras mashup and bullpen sticker. Many people have regarded the Fall era as the worst in Cartoon Network history, but on the contrary, I believe otherwise. It's something much more recent, that being the wretched Dimensional era. Here's some background information if you need a refresher or just didn't watch Cartoon Network around this time. Also, I don't blame you. Basically, they abandoned Check It 4.0, which was alright, and replaced it with a dimensional branding in the summer of 2016. I get it, you can't have Check It last forever and the channel was in need of a facelift. During this time frame, they cancelled most of their shows in favor of more absurdist, child-oriented humor shows, tacky reboots, and Teen Titans Go reruns non-stop. The president, Christina Miller, did not know how to run a channel and faced much-needed criticism for poor management and decisions. After a merger and lots of restructuring later in late 2021, Cartoon Network finally got their act together, had new and better management, a new president, and finally rebranded. Now that I've given a summary, I can go into more detail of why this era was the absolute worst in the history of the channel and made Fall era look spectacular in comparison. The bumpers were really mediocre and forgettable. It did nothing to get you invested in the network or the cartoons featured. Just bright backgrounds and abstract patterns related to the currently running shows, logos of the shows, and the repetitive tracks. They should have just stuck with the 2010 jingle instead of remixing it, but eventually when the Pastel era rolled out in 2023, they brought it back, but with a lo-fi theme. Also, the Check It 1.0 tracks were repetitive too, but at least they were decent and iconic, and memorable too. The Dimensional bumpers just made you miss the old Cartoon Network even more. They updated it occasionally, but still nothing eye-catching or noteworthy. They would feature shows in the bumpers that they would never air, which was very ironic in some sense. There was just no charm and not iconic in any way, shape, or form. The bottom line was just new wave, cheap garbage, reboots, absurdist humor, and most importantly, Teen Titans Go. You're starting to see a trend here. And no, I'm not one of those stereotypical cartoon review channels that will incessantly rant about Teen Titans Go. To be fair, it has a few funny moments from time to time. It's far from the worst show ever made, but nothing worth going out of your way to see, and many scenes could be beyond annoying. Also, many fans of the original series were disgruntled on how they trashed the original constantly and found the trollish humor unfunny. It would have been a bit less hated if it wasn't based on a pre-existing franchise. Anyways, the main problem was that they aired it all the time, and at the expense of other currently running shows. I'm not saying it was entirely Teen Titans Go's fault because that is obviously not true, but it was indirectly a contributing factor because it got high ratings and the executives wanted to make the most money possible, so many shows were neglected. A select few shows during this era were good, such as Mao Mao, Heroes of Pure Heart, and OKKO. However, it was just not enough to outweigh the bad and were cancelled too soon because of the AT&T and Discovery merger's fuckery, and was also not in the budget. You can get a good idea of why. And on top of that, many awesome pilots with interesting and clever concepts were not greenlit, such as Trick Moon. These ideas could have become hits. This era had the highest amount of boring, lazy, and unoriginal shows. Let's see, Teen Titans Go needs no introduction, that Ben 10 2017 reboot. I never cared for Ben 10, but I know enough to say it was horrible. Also the borderline creepy Powerpuff Girls reboot, that extremely forgettable Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs cartoon, Total Drama Rama, and that lazy Mega Man cartoon from 2019 that barely lasted and was not even really tied into the games. If I remember correctly, Fall era only had one god-awful show, that being Out of Jimmy's Head, since it was live action and the writing was terribly blended together. Not just that, they didn't give quite a few new shows a chance that didn't fit their random humor persona that they wanted. I really liked Bunnicula, but it got shoved over the boomerang where it slowly died. Also, Be Cool Scooby-Doo kinda sucked, but they should have at least given it a chance before giving up entirely. Channels should air all their shows sometimes and have variety, even if they aren't good, since someone out there will like it. Last but not least, Sonic Boom. When I was younger, I was really into that show and would go out of my way to wake up inconveniently on Sundays at 6 AM to see the new episodes before they decided to dump the remaining episodes onto Boomerang. Similarly to the Fall Noods era, this was when many of the CN Renaissance shows concluded, such as Regular Show and the first incarnation of Adventure Time. Many people have blown the Fall era of Cartoon Network out of proportion. Sure, many of the original cartoons ended, however, they were losing steam at that point and needed a new refresh with a couple of new shows like Chowder and Flapjack to hold them over until the Check It era began in 2010. You don't want a series to run on forever and become a Flanderized Zombies with all the life and charm completely sucked out of it, don't you? At that time, I can definitely see why Fall Era was so fathomed. Up until that point, Cartoon Network had amazing branding such as Powerhouse, City, and arguably Yes. Fall was a noticeable downgrade from anything previous, and the music was beyond repetitive and played long after the fall season ended. At least Fall Era aired reruns of the old, ended shows and classic cartoons all the time and gave new episodes of their shows plentiful promotion. Meanwhile, the Dimensional Era pretended as if the archival content simply didn't exist. Maybe if you were lucky they aired like one special during the holiday season. So yeah, the hate towards Fall and Noods Era are overblown and a tad outdated, especially compared to what followed. Hell, they barely even played shows currently running. I remember before a regular show aired the finale, they would air new episodes unannounced without any promotion and there was only about one rerun per week, and I had no clue when the next Uncle Grandpa episode would be coming. Not to mention once regular show ended in 2017, the show completely vanished from the channel. We didn't see it air regularly again, no pun intended, until 2022, despite it being one of the most popular and acclaimed cartoons of the 2010s. At least Fall and Noods Era was short, they were only about 3 years combined. Meanwhile, Dimensional was a drawn-out slog of 5 whole years of boredom. Yeah, they had CN Real, which was horrendously awful, but at least it was only once a week and didn't devour all the airtime and gave each show and genre some spot during the day. Dimensional Era takes the cake as being truly the worst era in the network's history, and they were at their lowest point ever. It was so abysmal it made you miss the days of CN Real. I mean it. Dimensional also dragged on for ages, it lasted 5 whole years. Most modern eras typically lasted a few years at most, but this one just went on and on. It was originally rolled out in 2016 and was finally discontinued in 2021 with the introduction of the Redraw Your World ad campaign, and was a breath of fresh air. I feel sorry for the people who live in Europe who are still perpetually stuck with the Dimensional Era as of 2023 because CN Europe is too lazy to update it for some reason. Out of every year Dimensional Era was around, I would have to say 2016, maybe 2017 was the least worst, and 2020 was the lowest point. By the time the era was reaching the end, they only had about 3 to 4 shows left airing regularly. Gumball, Craig of the Creek, Teen Titans Go, and Total Drama Rama. Sometimes a B-grade 5th show that was used as a wildcard like Victor and Valentino or Apple and Onion on a good day. It was really disappointing that they did nothing for the 25th anniversary in 2017 except for a short animation, nothing else or any classics on the schedule. Not many people discuss this era and why Dimensional just sucked. I'm honestly surprised how barely anyone remembers or talks about it these days because of how atrocious and lame it was. I just did not want to watch Cartoon Network at all during that time, and it was a sad downfall from the early 2010s renaissance. It really had nothing going for it. No variety, lame bumpers, no reruns of old shows, any decent new show ended too soon or aired at 6 AM of all times, and terrible management that had no idea how a television channel works. So yeah, Dimensional Era is worse than the Fall Era. Thankfully, ever since Redraw Your World and Pastel Era succeeded the Dimensional Era, the channel has improved exponentially and far fewer endless Teen Titans Go marathons are taking place. Hell, it is not even the #1 ranking on the schedule anymore. Cartoon Network is nowhere as great as it was during Powerhouse or City or Check It, but at least it is in an okay state currently and giving some new shows okay time slots. I'm not a fan of the Pastel Era branding and design, which I'll get to in my next video, but it simply works and is taking the channel in a good direction. Thank you for watching. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe, share, notify, and check out other videos on the channel. You may like them. What did you guys think about the Dimensional Era? Is it truly awful, or do you see a hidden glimmer of gold in a landfill that I don't? Let me know in the comments. Before I close out, thank you so much guys for 250 subscribers. Let's strive for 500.